In a quiet village, there lived an old farmer with his two sons. The older son, Marcus, was proud and greedy. He dreamed of owning the house, the land, the animals, and every coin his father had saved. But the younger son, Elias, was gentle and kind. He cared more about his father's health than his father's wealth. One evening, the old farmer called both sons to his bedside. With a weak voice, he said, "My sons, I do not have much time left. Everything I own must now be divided between you." Marcus stepped forward quickly. His eyes were not filled with sadness. They were filled with hunger. Elias lowered his head and held his father's hand. The old man looked at both of them and quietly said, "Remember this, the greatest treasure is not always the one that shines." The old farmer gave Marcus the house, the fields, the grain, the animals, and the money he had saved for years. Marcus smiled proudly as he grabbed the heavy pouch of coins. "This is only fair," he said. "I am the older son. I deserve the best." Then the father turned to Elias. From under his blanket, he pulled out a small wooden box, an old rusty key, and a folded piece of parchment. "This is for you," the father whispered. Marcus laughed. "A tiny box and a rusty key," he said. "That is your inheritance?" Elias did not complain. He bowed his head and said, "Thank you, father. Whatever you give me, I will keep with respect." The old farmer smiled softly, as if Elias had already understood something Marcus never could. The next morning, Marcus stood outside the family house like a king. Sacks of grain surrounded him. Coins glittered at his feet. The house, the land, and the fields were all his now. Elias had only a small bundle on his shoulder, the wooden box in his arms, and the rusty key in his hand. Marcus smirked and said, "Good luck surviving with that useless box." Elias looked back at the house where he had grown up. For a moment, his heart felt heavy. But he did not answer with anger. He simply said, "May your wealth bring you peace, brother." Then he walked down the village road, carrying almost nothing. But inside his small wooden box was a clue that would change everything. After walking for hours, Elias opened the wooden box. Inside was the folded parchment his father had given him. The writing was old and faded, but he could still read the words. "Go to the old cottage beyond the village. Find the tree with roots like hands. Use the key where the earth remembers." Elias was confused, but he trusted his father. He followed the path until he reached a forgotten cottage at the edge of the village. The garden was wild. The door was broken. Weeds covered the ground. Then Elias saw it. A large old tree stood behind the cottage, its roots twisting through the soil like giant hands. He knelt beside the tree, held the rusty key, and began to dig. The ground was hard, and the roots were thick. Elias dug until his hands were covered in dirt. Just when he began to feel tired, his shovel struck something solid. Clink. He cleared the soil away and found an old wooden chest buried beneath the roots. His heart began to race. He took the rusty key, placed it into the lock, and turned it slowly. The chest opened. A golden light poured out. Inside were coins, jewels, and precious stones hidden away for many years. Elias could hardly believe his eyes. But the real treasure was not the gold. Not yet. Among the gold and jewels, Elias found a sealed letter. His hands trembled as he opened it. It was written by his father. "My dear son Elias, if you are reading this, then you follow the clue with patience and respect. I gave your brother the treasure he wanted. But I gave you the treasure you deserved. This gold was hidden by your grandfather many years ago. It was never meant for the greedy. It was meant for the one who would use it with kindness. Do not let this treasure make your heart proud. Use it to build, to help, and to heal. That is how wealth becomes a blessing." Tears filled Elias's eyes. He held the letter close to his heart. For the first time, he understood his father's final words. The greatest treasure is not always the one that shines. Months passed. Marcus had everything, the house, the fields, the grain, and the money. But greed has a way of eating faster than hunger. He spent carelessly. He trusted dishonest traders. He refused to help anyone. Soon, his fields dried up, his workers left, and his coins disappeared. Meanwhile, Elias used his treasure wisely. He helped poor families. He gave work to villagers who needed it. One day, Marcus came to Elias's cottage wearing torn clothes and a broken expression. He looked at the beautiful home, the healthy garden, and the smiling villagers nearby. "How?" Marcus whispered. "How did you become rich from a useless box?" Elias looked at him gently and said, "The box was never useless. You only judged it before you understood it." Marcus lowered his head in shame. "I was greedy," he said. "I took everything from you, and still I lost it all." Elias could have turned him away. He could have reminded Marcus of every cruel word. But instead, Elias stepped forward and offered his hand. "You are still my brother," he said. "And a heart can change if it is willing to learn." From that day on, Marcus worked beside Elias. Not as a master. Not as a proud owner. But as a changed man. Together, they helped the village grow. They gave food to the hungry, shelter to the poor, and hope to those who had none. And the villagers often said, Marcus inherited wealth. But Elias inherited wisdom. Because in the end, the poor brother did find the real treasure. It was not gold. It was kindness. It was patience. It was a heart that knew how to give. Greed may give you everything for a moment, but kindness can give you blessings for a lifetime.